Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another interview with an industry expert. Today, we have Joe from BrandGuard, and we are going to be speaking about unauthorized sellers and chasing down the buy box and all the fun that's associated. Joe, it's great to have you.
Great to be here, Laura. Great to be here.
Let's jump into it. I mean, what are some of the most common cases that you see when it comes to brands having unauthorized sellers on the Amazon marketplace and even beyond? I mean, where did that initial issue begin?
Where we see it most commonly for our clients, prospective clients, is they've got some type of open distribution, or multiple levels of distribution. So they're in brick and mortar, retail. They may do direct wholesale to like independent stores, things like that. They may use really large distributors for their products. And anytime that happens, especially with those large distributors, you lose visibility into that second layer. So anytime you've got these multiple avenues where your products are going out, it's easy to lose visibility into who's buying, and more likely that, especially if you're being successful in the marketplaces, there's a demand already that exists for your products because of maybe all this hard work you've been doing in marketing, right? Then those resellers become attracted to those listings on Amazon because it's pretty easy. If they can make a little bit of margin on your products, they're going to compete for those sales.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of brands now are aware of this issue. And so if they're a D2C brand that has a really tight grip on their distribution, they're wary of working with these distributors that might do liquidation and whatnot.
Right.
But what are some things that brands can do when the cat's already out of the bag and now they're trying to reel everything back in?
If you are looking to expand channels, being proactive is always a good thing. But for those people that, let's just say they've been traditionally retail, right, for a long time, and now they're switching over to e-commerce and they're making that a focal point, you need to set up a clear reseller policy that dives into distinctions between what your authorized sellers can offer. That could be services and benefits, warranties, things like that, to your end consumers that unauthorized sellers can't offer. And why that's so important is because there's a part of copyright and trademark law called the first sale doctrine that essentially allows for people that got their hands on your product legitimately to resell it. And that's not copyright, it's not trademark infringement inherently. But they've been court cases that have established some exceptions to that rule. And one of those is material difference. If you can show that you offer services, benefits, et cetera, that these other guys aren't, that can kind of work against the first sale doctrine and potentially lead to a case for trademark infringement. And so we find that a much stronger legal foundation to start this process than I think what's traditionally been known in the industry around like MAP monitoring or MAP, minimum advertised pricing enforcement. That's a great place to start, is establishing the right legal foundation. And then there's that process of reaching out to sellers and things like that. But that's kind of a big picture.
So on the topic of price, and there's no question that unauthorized sellers can cause price erosion, even brand erosion. Are you seeing that a lot of brands are then trying to compete and price match with these unauthorized sellers in order to win the buy box? Or are they holding strong so they don't upset their retail partners in hopes that those resellers will just sell out of inventory?
Well, we've seen kind of the whole range of responses, right? From, hey, we're going to aggressively price match in the hopes that if they're not winning any sales, they'll just go away. Oftentimes, once you get resellers that have product, they don't just sort of magically take it down. They're like, well, we'll race to the bottom. We'll play this game as long as you want to. I just need to get out of this inventory. Or We have seen, I mean, I'm honestly, for companies that use, say, Amazon Vendor Central, they're selling directly to Amazon. Amazon's gonna price match. That's sort of their strategy, right? Win the buy box at all costs, until they say we can't return a profit on your product and we're not going to sell it anymore. I think there's other ones that they do hold strong. They wind up not making any sales, and their retail partners still aren't happy because somebody else has the price lower, even though it's not the brand.
Mhm.
That retail partner says, but your price on Amazon is X. And you go, well, that's not me. And they say, but it's still X, and I can't compete with that. We get a lot of people coming to us just frustrated by this issue, because it's kind of like, pick your poison. Do you want to help race your product to the bottom, or do you want to not make any sales? And everybody's still not happy because the price isn't where they want it to be. There's not a great sales strategy to just make it go away, I guess.
In these cases that you see, because you see a lot of them, is it more popular for it to be an unauthorized sellers with a replenishment inventory, or is it more the retail arbitrage type people who do a one-time purchase of the inventory, whether it's a small town person going to TJ Maxx and loading up on a brand, or
Right.
they bought it at some type of liquidation sale?
You get the whole spectrum. That's something that we like to help our brands see, is the trickle down effect of some of the decisions that maybe have been made higher up around distribution or around liquidation. Beauty products, for instance, we see a lot in that category where a little bit older product does get liquidated, does get sent to the TJ Maxxes of the world. And then that product winds up trickling back to Amazon. Or they ran crazy good deals through their distributors to help drive some sales. Well, we've seen companies where they'll run a crazy deal on Amazon, and through some of our partners, we were able to track those sales. 90% of them went to essentially two large scale buyers online. So, and then they just flipped it back onto Amazon, so it's crazy just realizing the impact of decisions that are made in like sales and discounting strategies, liquidation strategies, and that impact. But if you are using large distributors, the guys that you have to worry about are the ones that have the unlimited access to your inventory. So it just kind of depends. It depends on what's happens. And that's why when we talk to people, we always like to hear the backstory. It can help us kind of diagnose the type of sellers that we're going to be dealing with.
When it comes to getting these unauthorized sellers removed, you mentioned, using Amazon brand registry and maybe potentially getting Amazon involved, or is the better route to actually go direct to the seller, sending some type of cease and desist letter?
In our case, we see 95+% of the time, it makes more sense to go directly to resellers. Because Amazon, this is an issue that Amazon doesn't really want to solve. We have a quote from their VP of customer trust, Dharmesh Mehta, in the Wall Street Journal that says, we welcome legitimate unauthorized sellers because they decrease prices and increase selection on the platform. There's no inherent motivation for Amazon to solve that issue, like there is maybe for the counterfeit issue. If you have a counterfeit problem, yes, that's what those tools like brand registry, transparency, Project Zero, those type of Amazon specific programs are really geared around that issue. They really don't want those tools to be used against unauthorized sellers.
All right, so I'm dying to know, what is the craziest situation you've seen?
Some crazy ones have dealt with theft. Like we have a really big client where product was being stolen out of Best Buy Canada and making its way to the US, being sold here. And actually they won a couple really big lawsuits against some of those sellers. Once we help set up the legal foundation, we get into investigating resellers. We've built a software system now that has close to 500,000 Amazon sellers and 40,000 Walmart sellers now in our database. But we also investigate those further. With one brand, we uncovered that their wholesale sales manager was doing like backdoor deals.
Oh gosh.
And you see all kinds of things. And resellers, They're a crafty bunch. I used to be one of those. That's one of the biggest things that brands have to combat is a lot of these sellers, they don't see themselves as hurting the brand. And you have to work against showing them, hey, this isn't okay. This is some of the ways that it's harmful. This is why you're not necessarily protected by the first sale doctrine. But having a conversation directly with that seller, rather than going some of these other routes that people try to do where they go marketplace specific and hit their accounts with these violations, we actually find you earn more goodwill more of the time by actually having a conversation and giving them a chance to respond, rather than jeopardizing their account on Amazon. And then they just get ticked off or they dig in their heels and they're like, I'm not going, like, you're going to have to sue me. You don't want that. And we've seen where sellers now, some of them will countersue a brand, especially if they've been hit with a false counterfeit claim through brand registry, to try to get them kicked off. And they can prove through invoices that they have legitimate inventory. You could lose that case as the brand if you're making those kind of claims. So you have to be very, very careful.
With some of these lawsuits that are happening, what do you think the future is of the retail arbitrage resale market? I mean, do you think it will strengthen? Do you think it will become less popular as brands become more strategic in their distribution?
Yeah, I think it'll evolve, right? Like as it always does. If it's not Amazon, they're going to try to find a different marketplace. That might be Walmart. I think there's always guys trying to find more sophisticated ways to game the system. Like there was legislation introduced recently that was a move towards more transparency about third-party seller information. It basically is saying, hey, if you sell more than $5,000 a year, your information should be displayed for buyers to see so they know who they're purchasing from. So that was part of the legislation that was just introduced. We'll see how that goes. I think brands are paying more attention to it now. And that's where you have to start is, hey, let's take inventory. Let's see how big of an issue is this for us really? What are the potential costs or what are the potential benefits if we do try to, go through the process of cleaning this up? I think the worst thing is stick your head in the sand and hope it goes away. That's never an effective strategy.
No, it's definitely not going away. And
let's actually look, let's pay attention, to what's going on. And that's why we typically do an audit process for any of our potential clients to say, what are we seeing on Amazon? What are we seeing on Walmart? How many sellers are there? How much of the buy box are they getting for your product? Those are some of the things that we're able to see. How much are they eroding the price? We want to see that on the front end to help clients make decisions, about that. You can't just ignore it.
Well, awesome. Well, any other final words, best practices you'd like to share?
The main thing that we see is that the organization, primarily like sales and e-commerce departments, coming together and landing on a cohesive strategy that says what one is doing is going to help the other, to produce control and things like that. That's where it has to start, is on the strategy level, everybody being on the same page. And then you're able to get in the nitty gritty of, okay, well, now we can set up a cohesive policy. Now we can go about policing the brand in various places now that we're all on the same page. I think that's probably the one piece that can be the most challenging that doesn't get brought up a lot. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and if any of our listeners here would like to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, you can go to brandguard.com, contact us through the website, or joe.kovacs@brandguard.com. You can email me directly, either way. And we're happy to just have that initial consultation, no strings attached, just to see what can be done about if you're experiencing some of these issues. We offer that audit for free to all of our prospective clients. So it's pretty high value info.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I know we'll be in touch.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Laura. You have a great day.